So this next piece I wanted to read to you took place after I'd been in, first I was so dedicated, and I worked really hard, and I was actually turned out to be pretty good at sales. And so I became a top seller. I even won some awards, and I got to be on the elite team for a while, but then a year goes by, 2 years goes by, I started getting pretty weary. And I started kind of thinking maybe I could do something else for God besides sell candy. And so it was hard to keep the motivation up and keep my dedication up when things got hard that way. And so this takes place at that time. And one more thing I want to tell you about this is that we were told that if anyone bought anything from us or gave us anything, since we were disciples of Christ, their ancestors were up in the spirit world having a celebration. They were having a party because one of their descendants had just donated to the Messiah. And so...
How old were you?
17.
No, I knew you started in
By now, I was about 19
at
this point.
Okay.
Maybe 19, yeah. Okay. I kept the pictures of the true parents close at hand and tried to battle the feelings I had that kept telling me I could serve God better if I was given the chance to do something else besides fundraising. There were still occasions when I would see people having fun or just relaxing with family or friends, and I would feel sorry for myself. It was never as severe as in Galveston, but the feelings would come up. I tried to remember Father's suffering course and God's sadness, both of which Mr. Sudo had made so clear to us. He had warned us there would be days we would feel sorry for ourselves. Whenever this came up for me, I tried to remember the time I fasted and received the revelation that I was going to be Satan's spiritual mother, and that I should always look for the hardest path in order to grow my heart. I began to wonder if I was really cut out for the job. As I was going door to door in some apartments one evening, I came to a door that had loud music coming from it. Someone came to the door with a long ponytail and bloodshot eyes. I told him what I was doing. He bought a box of candy and offered me a brownie. Now I knew they weren't normal brownies. And I hesitated for a few seconds, then took one off the plate in front of me. "Thank you, have a nice evening," I walked away. "You too," he said as I walked away. "Good luck." He smiled and gave me the peace sign. I ate the brownie as soon as I was around the corner. When I got back to the van, I told Captain I wasn't feeling well. He let me sit in the back of the van and rest. I didn't repent. I was sure the guy who gave me the brownie would be blessed by God, and I didn't mind making the sacrifice of being stoned for a few hours for his sake. Okay, so I have time to read one more piece, and it's actually the afterword of the book. And it kind of speaks to the lessons I've learned from this entire experience. More than one of my friends during the writing of this book suggested that I watch a recently released documentary about Jonestown. When I finished the memoir, I rented a DVD and reluctantly hit play. Watching it made me physically ill. The film's images are now burned into my mind. There was footage of a young man being interviewed, apparently by another member of the People's Temple, as Jonestown was first being built in the jungles of Guyana. He was one of the first to go there, and his testimony of life in Jonestown was filled with the vision of an ideal in which he firmly believed. He couldn't have been more than 20 years old. His happiness and the light in his eyes glimmered as he proclaimed that he never wanted to leave Jonestown. He made it out alive to tell his story and to be interviewed 30 years later for the documentary. I see myself in him, both the dedicated young man and the survivor who was about my age. There was a handwritten note shown and read at the end of the documentary, written by a member before he drank the poison that took his life. He asks in the note he asks in the note what they were trying to do in Jonestown never be forgotten. Then there are images of the bodies, mostly lying face down, arms wrapped around each other, mother and baby, elderly, black and white, over 900 people lying dead. There were interviews with a handful of survivors, several describing holding a loved one as they died. One described details like the foam coming from the mouth of his young son. Another described laying the body of his wife next to her grandmother as she had requested, as she was dying in his arms. Another talked tearfully of the death not only of her family members, but also of a dream that died that day. I thought of how my own dream had died. I went back and looked again at the picture of 17-year-old me standing with a sign in my hand proclaiming the one world crusade and world peace and wondering what I would have done for my Messiah. I felt a tragic kinship with extremists. I went online and put in the term suicide bomber. An image appeared in front of me of a leg, a woman's leg with a shoe still on the foot, but no body. At the knee, only flesh oozing. A chalk line was drawn around it. I have a pair of shoes that look like the one on her foot. I know why she detonated. I know why a mother injected poison into her baby's mouth. They were not acts of hatred, but of love, of deep belief. I wonder how the people I programmed are now. I am infinitely grateful that I am free from the circular logic that held me captive and created the possibility for unthinkable acts. I wonder if the people I helped deprogram also feel that way. I wonder if the trauma I was part of creating as we intentionally yanked away their belief system is a wound from which they have finally healed. The human brain is an undiscovered frontier as vast as the universe in which we live. Advances are being made, however, at an unprecedented rate, gradually unveiling the mysteries of outer and inner space. I cannot pretend to be an expert on the brain, but I know something happened inside my brain that affected my decision-making processes, and I see similarities of varying degree throughout the world. Easy answers to hard questions were very appealing to me as a confused 17-year-old. Being part of a community with a clear and well-defined idealistic goal was exhilarating. I feel certain Hitler Youth felt a similar psychological draw as they moved toward their totalistic indoctrination. I also know I share more with the woman whose leg was circled with chalk than just similar shoes. As I look at the pictures of Sun Myung Moon, I don't see an evil man. He believed he was God. His followers believed he is God. His doctrine, however, creates circular logic in a totalistic environment. Totalism creates us and them mentality. As a dedicated member of the us, of which I belong, I know I would have drunk the Kool-Aid.